I stood in the driveway of my Hampton beach house, staring at what used to be my serene blue-gray cottage. Now it was a modernist white box with floor-to-ceiling windows and some sort of metal artwork on the front lawn. My phone buzzed with the text from Marcus Thompson, CEO of Sterling Industries, my son's boss. Looking forward to seeing my new summer home tomorrow. Hope the classic Hampton's charm is still intact. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The classic Hampton's charm had been exactly why Marcus bought the property. He'd fallen in love with its traditional shingled exterior and wraparound porch during our private viewing 2 weeks ago. The sale had been quick and quiet, exactly as he'd wanted, to avoid office gossip about his new $8.5 million purchase. "Mom, surprise!" My son Michael's voice boomed from the front door. "We've been waiting for you." I turned to see Michael and his wife, Amanda, standing proudly on what used to be my lovely wooden porch, now replaced with some sort of concrete platform. What have you done?" I managed to ask. "We fixed it up," Amanda beamed. "We know you've been too busy with your consulting work to update this place, so we thought we'd surprise you. We spent the last 2 weeks making it perfect." Perfect. The word echoed in my head as I walked closer, noting every improvement they'd made. The charming window boxes, gone. The traditional shutters, replaced with motorized metal blinds. The warm cedar siding, covered in stark white paint. "Come see inside." Michael grabbed my hand, pulling me through the front door. We used our savings to make it amazing. The interior was worse. My comfortable, beach-worn furniture had vanished, replaced with sleek, modern pieces that looked like they belonged in a Miami nightclub. The cozy kitchen with its blue cabinets and copper pots was now all stainless steel and white lacquer. "We threw out all that old furniture," Amanda said proudly. "This is much more current. Now we won't be embarrassed to have friends over." "Your friends?" I raised an eyebrow. "Well, you hardly use this place anymore," Michael shrugged. "We thought it could be a family vacation home, maybe even have some work retreats here, impress the boss." The irony was almost painful. "How much did you spend on this?" I asked quietly. "About $300,000, Amanda beamed. "We took out a home equity loan. But it's worth it. This place must be worth at least $1 million more now." I sank into one of their uncomfortable new chairs. "And you did this without asking me?" "We wanted it to be a surprise." Michael spread his arms wide. "And admit it, Mom, this place needed updating. It was so dated." "It was exactly what the new owner wanted," I said softly. The room went silent. Amanda's smile froze on her face. "What new owner?" Michael's voice cracked. "I sold the house 2 weeks ago," I said, watching their faces. "To Marcus Thompson, your CEO. He's coming to see his new property tomorrow." Amanda grabbed the back of a chair for support. But we just spent our savings on someone else's house," I finished, "without asking permission, without even checking if I still owned it." "Mom, you can't be serious," Michael said, his face going pale. "Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you ask me before renovating my property?" I countered. But Marcus Thompson?" Amanda whispered. "Michael's boss? He loved the traditional style," I said, "the classic Hampton's charm, the exact look you just destroyed." Michael sank onto their new modernist sofa. "Oh God. My boss is going to see what we did to his house. I'm going to get fired." "We'll fix it," Amanda said desperately. "We can put it back." I looked around at the gutted interior. "In one day, with what money? You said you spent your savings." The reality of what they'd done was finally sinking in. Amanda started to cry, mascara running down her face. Michael looked like he might be sick. "What were you thinking?" I asked, not unkindly. "Did it never occur to you that this was my property? That I might have plans of my own?" We thought we were helping," Michael said weakly. "Making it better." "Better for who?" I stood up and walked to the windows that used to have my grandmother's lace curtains. "Better for you? Because you were embarrassed by my taste? Because you wanted to impress your friends?" "Mom, please," Michael said, desperate. "You have to help us fix this. My whole career could be over." I turned to face them, these two people who had decided their judgment was better than mine, who had taken it upon themselves to erase 30 years of memories without even asking. "Fix it?" I echoed. "Like you fixed my house?" Amanda was sobbing now. "Please, we'll do anything. We can't lose everything over this." I looked at my phone, at Marcus's text waiting for a response. I had exactly 18 hours before he arrived to see his new property, his specifically chosen, traditionally styled beach house that now looked like a contemporary art museum. Well, I said finally, I hope you're ready for a very long night and an expensive lesson about respecting other people's property. The look of relief on their faces was premature. They had no idea what I had in mind for their redemption. I sat at what used to be my cozy breakfast nook, now transformed into some sort of minimalist eating station, and made 3 phone calls. The first was to Marcus, buying us 48 hours with a carefully worded message about final touches. The second was to James Parker, my contractor of 20 years. The third was to my bank. Here's what's going to happen, I said to Michael and Amanda, who sat across from me looking shell-shocked. James will be here in an hour with his crew. They'll work around the clock, but it's going to cost $500,000 to restore this house to its original condition. Amanda made a choking sound. 500,000? Custom millwork isn't cheap, I said coldly. Neither is replacing 100-year-old hardwood floors or rebuilding a period-correct porch. Everything you destroyed in 2 weeks of thoughtless renovation needs to be carefully restored. But we don't have that kind of money, Michael whispered. No, I agreed. You don't. Because you spent your savings destroying someone else's property. So here's the deal. I'll loan you the money with very specific conditions. They leaned forward eagerly. First, you'll both sign a promissory note. Second, you'll sell your city condo to pay back the initial $300,000 you wasted here, plus half of the restoration costs. Sell our condo? Amanda's voice rose. But where would we live? In the apartment above your mother's garage, I said flatly. The one you said was too basic last Christmas. It's amazing how affordable housing can suddenly become when you've destroyed your finances. Michael's face had gone from white to gray. Mom, please. I'm not finished, I continued. Third condition, you'll both spend the next year working with James's crew on his restoration projects. Unpaid, learning the value of the craftsmanship you so carelessly destroyed. But I have a job, Michael protested. Yes, a job you'll lose if your boss sees what you did to his house. Choose wisely, son. The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. James's crew worked miraculously fast, fueled by coffee and the promise of triple overtime. I watched as Michael and Amanda, still in their expensive clothes, helped haul out their modern furniture and strip away their designer paint. By hour 30, the exterior was back to its original cedar shingles. By hour 40, the handcrafted kitchen cabinets had been reinstalled. With 6 hours to go, the antique hardwood floors were being carefully relaid. I didn't know it took so much work, Michael said quietly, as we watched the craftsmen meticulously fitting pieces of wood together. When we ripped it up, it seemed so easy. Destruction usually is, I replied. It's the building, or rebuilding, that takes skill and care. Amanda sat on the porch steps, her designer dress covered in dust. We really thought we were making it better, more valuable. Value isn't always about being new or modern, I said. Sometimes it's about history, craftsmanship, and respect for what came before. Just as the crew finished the last touches, my phone buzzed. Marcus was 20 minutes away. Go clean up, I told Michael and Amanda. You should be here for this. They emerged from their old rooms, now restored to their original state, just as Marcus's car pulled up. I watched through the window as he stepped out, taking in the exterior. It's perfect, he breathed, walking up the porch steps. Exactly as I remembered it. I let him tour the house, noting every original feature with appreciation. Michael and Amanda trailed behind us, silent and pale. The craftsmanship is extraordinary, Marcus said, running his hand along the kitchen cabinets. You don't see work like this anymore. He turned to Michael, who looked like he might faint. You never mentioned your mother's beach house was such a gem, Thompson, though I suppose you don't get out here much. Actually, sir, Michael's voice shook slightly. They've been helping me prepare it for the sale, I interrupted smoothly. Learning to appreciate traditional craftsmanship, aren't you, Michael? He swallowed hard. Yes, very much so. After Marcus left, clutching the keys to his perfectly restored beach house, Michael and Amanda slumped onto the porch steps. Why did you cover for us? Amanda asked quietly. Because sometimes the lesson is more important than the punishment, I replied. You'll spend the next year learning the value of what you nearly destroyed. That's worth more than any momentary satisfaction I might get from exposing your mistake. Michael looked up at me. The apartment above Mom's garage. Does that offer still stand? I nodded. It's not modern, it's not impressive, but it's a place to live while you rebuild your savings and hopefully your judgment. As they left to begin packing up their condo, I stood on the porch of the house I no longer owned, thinking about lessons learned and wisdom earned. Sometimes the most expensive mistakes turn out to be the most valuable teachers. 1 year later, I sat in my garden, watching Michael and Amanda pull up in their now familiar work truck. They looked different, tanned, wearing worn jeans and work boots instead of designer clothes. James's restoration crew had changed them in ways I hadn't expected. "Mom," Michael called out, carrying a small wooden box. "We wanted to show you something." They sat down at my patio table, and Amanda carefully opened the box. Inside was a miniature replica of my old beach house, crafted with incredible detail. "We made it," she said softly. "Every shingle, every window frame, James taught us how." I picked it up, noting the tiny copper gutters and perfectly scaled porch railings. "It's beautiful." "We didn't understand before," Michael said, watching me examine their work. "The value of things. We thought newer meant better, modern meant more valuable. And now," Amanda smiled, her first genuine smile in months. "Now we know that every piece of wood has a story. Every technique passed down through generations has meaning." The past year had been hard for them, living above Amanda's mother's garage, working long hours with the restoration crew, selling most of their designer possessions to pay back the loan. But something unexpected had happened along the way. "James offered us partnerships," Michael said, "in his restoration business." I raised an eyebrow. "What about your corporate job?" "I quit last month," he replied. "Turns out I'm better with my hands than with spreadsheets, and honestly, I'm happier." Amanda nodded. "We both are. We're making less money," but she touched the miniature house gently. "We're building something real." "Speaking of building," I said, pulling out an envelope, "I have something for you." They opened it to find a deed. Their eyes widened as they read. "Mom, this is the lot next to your old beach house," Michael whispered. "Marcus mentioned it was for sale," I said. Apparently, the neighbors were worried about some developer turning it into modern condos. Amanda's hands were shaking. "But we can't afford." "You can with the money I've been setting aside from your loan payments," I said. "And with James as your partner, I know whatever you build there will respect the history and character of the neighborhood." "We were thinking," Michael said slowly, "about specializing in historical restoration, teaching others what we learned." I smiled, remembering their modern white box from a year ago. Life has a funny way of coming full circle. Later that evening, as we sat planning their new project, Amanda suddenly looked up. "Why didn't you just tell us you were selling the beach house? Before would you have listened?" I asked gently. "Or would you have seen it as another example of my outdated thinking?" They exchanged glances, acknowledging the truth in my words. "Sometimes," I continued, "the most valuable lessons are the ones we learn the hard way. You needed to understand the cost of disrespecting other people's property, the value of craftsmanship, and the importance of asking before assuming." Michael reached over and squeezed my hand. "We learned a lot more than that, Mom." As the sun set, we looked through their preliminary sketches for their new beach house, a design that honored the past while building for the future. The modern furniture and stark white walls were gone from their plans, replaced by carefully considered craftsmanship and thoughtful details. "You know what's ironic?" Amanda said, looking at their plans. "A year ago, we thought we were too good for traditional things. Now we're going to spend our lives preserving them." I picked up the miniature house they'd made, this labor of love that represented not just their new skills, but their transformed understanding of value. Sometimes the most expensive mistakes leave us exactly where we need to be, and sometimes what looks like a costly lesson turns out to be the most precious gift of all.